channel. I'm Alexa. Today we're making chocolate cherry cake. The cherries give the cake moisture, and you wouldn't even know they were in there had you not known already. I measured out all my ingredients, and I recommend that you do so too. You can find a full list of ingredients and measurements in the link in the description. Remember to watch the video first so you can be prepared.
I'm going to start by making my cherry pie filling. To do this, I'm going to combine my sugar and cornstarch in a saucepan and whisk them together. Then, I'm going to turn my burner on to medium and add in my cherries and water. To combine my ingredients, I'm using a rubber spatula, but you can use a wooden spoon or a metal spoon if you'd prefer. I'm going to stir this constantly until it dissolves. Then I'll raise my temperature to medium-high, still stirring constantly until it comes to a boil. You can see the liquid has more than doubled and almost covered the cherries. Mine took about 7 minutes. Now that this has come to a boil, which took me another 7 minutes, I'm going to reduce the temperature to simmer on low. I'm going to stir it for another few minutes as it thickens before removing it from the burner. The cherry mixture will continue to thicken as it cools. Next, I'm going to get started on my cake. To start, I'm going to sift my flour, cocoa powder, baking powder, and baking soda. This is to make sure there are no clumps. If you don't have a sifter, you can use a wire whisk or a fork. When you're sifting, you can push the ingredients through using a rubber spatula or a spoon, or you can just tap the sides of it with your hands. Now that my ingredients have all fallen through, I'm going to tap the sides of my sifter so I can make sure no ingredients are stuck to its stand. If your sifter doesn't have a stand, you don't need to do this step. Next, I'm going to whisk my sugar into these ingredients. If you don't have a wire whisk, you can use a fork. Next, I'm going to combine my sifted ingredient mixture with my eggs, cherry pie filling, water, and almond extract. Before I add in my eggs, I'm going to quickly scramble them with a fork. This should help them combine better. I'm going to mix them until they're fully combined. I noticed that some ingredients were stuck to the bottom of the bowl, so I'm going to quickly scrape down the bottom of my bowl, the sides of it, and the beater of my stand mixer with a rubber spatula. Make sure there's as little batter on your spatula as possible because it will be harder to combine with your ingredients later on and create clumps. It can be helpful to use a second rubber spatula to get the batter off of your first one. I noticed when mixing that some dry ingredients were still stuck to the side of my bowl, so I'm going to scrape down my bowl again. My batter looks great, so let's move on to the next step. Now I'm going to put my batter into my pan. You don't need to put parchment paper down or butter the pan or anything because it doesn't stick. However, if you want to remove the cooked cake in one piece, then you should put down parchment paper. I'm going to smooth out my batter using a rubber spatula so it's even and bakes evenly. Next, I'm going to put my cake into the oven. It's preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. My cake took 40 minutes to bake. I'd recommend setting a timer for 20 minutes and then set timers for a few more minutes until it's done. When the timer is up, stick a knife into the center of the cake, and if it comes out clean, then the cake is done baking. After it's done, put it onto a cooling rack so it can cool. In a 9 by 13 inch pan, my cake rose to 1.5 inches tall. Now that my cake is done, I'm going to get started on the icing. To do this, I'm going to combine my butter, sugar, and milk in a saucepan. Then I'm going to cook it on high heat while stirring until it comes to a boil. While the butter melts, I'm stirring using a rubber spatula. After the butter melts, I'm going to switch to using a wire whisk. You can also use a wooden spoon. After it comes to a boil, I'm going to cook it for 1 more minute while stirring. Then I'm going to take it off of the stove and add in my chocolate chips. I'm going to stir until it is entirely incorporated. Next, I'm going to put my icing on the top of my cake. To start, I'm going to use a rubber spatula to remove the icing from the saucepan. Then I'm going to spread it out a little. To make it even, I'm going to smooth it out using an offset cake spatula. You don't need to use one if you don't have it. I just like the way it makes my cake look. And my chocolate cherry cake is done and looking delicious. Please let me know what you thought of the video in the comments and how the recipe went for you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you can see when new videos are added. Thank you and enjoy!